Next presentation will be the one by Professor Słyk from the University of Technology of Warsaw. The city of bits today, urban space as a result of rules. Over to you, Professor.
Dzień dobry, dziękuję bardzo za
Well,
zaproszenie.
good morning and thank you very much for the invitation.
Ogromnie jest mi miło być tu z Państwem.
It is my great pleasure to be here with you today in this space.
I choć będę się zajmował
And while
wirtualizacją kontaktów, naszych relacji,
be talking about the virtual nature of our relationships and our contacts and our space, believe me that after what we've been through, during the pandemic, I believe that is insufficient at all without our interactions, without our sensual cognitive functions and impressions, we wouldn't be able to exchange our thoughts effectively. The topic of my presentation today is a certain part of the material. You may confront this material with your own impressions by reading my essay, my paper, and I focused on this main part here because he was my inspiration to build my paper on it and to have this structure which juxtaposes certain concept of architecture and imagination. So it's Bill Mitchell, who is the former Dean of Architecture at the MIT. Actually, I had the opportunity to meet Bill Mitchell in person in 1990s before even he wrote that book, which inspired me to write this essay, and that was a very unusual meeting. Professor is an incredible person with a very sharp mind and also very open to exchange of thoughts, and a person like that may be extremely effective to explain and to suggest what we can expect in the decades to come. And Professor left a complete description of his observation of what we can expect, and these are covers of his books. They touch upon issues which come and rise from architecture. Bill Mitchell, he was capable of combining this vision-oriented and futuristic thinking with a prediction of what is coming and with very down-to-earth practical actions in the academic milieu. So he was the creator of a modern vision of the MIT campus, which was a reference to all contemporary campuses. He was also the creator of Smart Cities MIT Lab. So that was the cradle of prototypes of so many solutions that we've been using and that inspire us. And the bottom row below, that these are professors' publications that refer to the professor. And here, that's the book published in 1996. In my opinion, that is the starting point for all later subsequent concepts of professor and for all the tests and concepts run tests and runs. So I would like to test Mitchell's thoughts against the background of subsequent taxonomies. So I have certain ideas that are presented in models here. So I would like to juxtapose them with models. So these concepts are the most unrealistic and unreal models. So these are informational models. They contain a complete set of metadata that refer to space, and also these are reference to the models of autonomous spatial environment, because professors were dealing with concepts that you cannot see right now, but which are based on contemporary experience, and because of that, they're highly probable. So the first image, which is the reference to the reality that we know, comes from our own area of experience. We want to talk about the dependence of urban planning mechanisms on the rules. These are rules which are followed by designers, by planners, and these are also rules which are based on the way of operation and needs and pragmatics of human settlement operations. So this is a settlement in the town of Kultusk, a pre-settlement state. It is a computer model, but it's not that these houses, the structure of these houses and the model was based on post-architectural archaeological excavation concept. We created this model in our faculty. Under the direction of Professor Brona, we read the certain structural rules that supported that settlement. And on that basis, software was developed that allowed to follow certain architectural iteration. And these iterations are based on architectural and archaeological discoveries. So this way we can generate certain hypotheses that we can then check back. So if we read the principles correctly, then that tool can be a very efficient tool to design a city based on a certain set of rules. So let me give you another example. This goes back in time, but it's based on similar principles, 1960s plug-in city by Archigram. It is not only the theoretical concept, which is based on the mode of operation and how elements cooperate. Well, the plug-in city could be also translated directly as a city which is plugged into the grid or network of relationships which generate certain statuses. Here we have information that comes from the real time and that causes certain configuration to be more or less realistic. And here city grows or shrinks, and is based on the rules which have been initially written down by an architect. Before computers became popular, it was quite a structural concept to design cities. On the left, you can see the patterns by Christopher Alexander. So this is not only the reading of the reality. This is a reference to defining certain dependencies in communication, etc., etc. And on the right, you have the landscape synthesis by Lynch. So it is based on certain models, and this way we can interpret the city landscape and construct the city landscape. If our planning and of the future is not only a conceptual pattern, but is a futuristic expression, and it's basically drawn or designed by an architect, then its features are more related to aesthetic models and features which support these visions. I don't want to comment on these images. I think you're very well familiar with them. So again, my choice is based on the fact that each of these images is not only supported by an intuitive and expression-based vision. There is a certain formal concept or observation here. We assume that there will be certain rationale behind certain statuses, and they prompt certain geometrical configurations that can be then recorded by using language. But then let us refer to the city of bits. These two concepts come together, and there is this very strictly formalized idea that refers to certain ideas and concepts of an urban space. So the professor starts from quite tangible observations. This book was written when US cities had to be turned upside down because of the necessity to route a fiber optic cable through them and in them. So the professor described that fascinating phenomenon. Then he moved on to a more theoretical comment. So the city of bits has a reincarnation of certain digital ideas that we know from our traditional life, and it also has its algorithms and its population. People who begin to behave like human beings, and human beings that start to behave like robots. So then we have the architecture that can register certain information in real life, and it operates in a network. The city of bits is full of paradoxes, and then it has a body and it doesn't have a body, and it's bodiless, in particular when we understand them through such additional interfaces that allow us to communicate with this digital world. So it's a continuous reasoning or understanding. So, for example, when we click hyperlink, we are transferred to another point with the content. We all know very well that such literature was also created without computers, literature that actually you can start reading from any point. And landscape, well, this is a futuristic vision. There is no landscape in the city of bits, but you can touch upon that topic. So let me start with two videos here. The first one is a very significant material for me, and this is an image of a city of 1954 painted by Steven Spielberg in the Minority Report. Actually, it wasn't Spielberg's intuitive creation. Actually, he invited to the hotel inside Santa Monica 15 members of the academia. These were top thinkers, top designers of urban concepts, and the leader of that team was Tom Mitchell, and they created an image with more than 10 key assumptions and technological solutions that follow. This city, which is digitally augmented, operates as it does. I'll go back to that in a moment. Then we have another video. This one is completely detached from reality. The Inception, 2010. This is a virtual city, and it is virtual in the sense that it comes from the environment of dreams. But as you can see, parts of that city come from our real memories and observations, from our sensual perceptions, but they are created through our concepts of and ways of, through our dreams. In reality, they become unreal, and they have these qualities or features that in the world of gravitation, in the world of gravity, do not happen. And then we have the third video, which is a sample of a potential city of bits. So this is a mixture of both these worlds. Ian Woodson, the Sydney Opera in 2023, the Opera House in Sydney was celebrated. It's celebrating its 50th anniversary, and it received a new layer of visual interaction with the surroundings. This is a 3D mapping with processing of reality that can be received through our senses and then transformed into something different, perhaps richer, perhaps different from what has been initially planned. Now, technology. The City of Bits cannot go on without technology. Technology has made it to our real life, and it's here to stay. So this is the map of the center of Kraków, the surroundings of the central railway station in Kraków, and these are buses which cruise and circle around us. So this is not something that we can recognize, that we can learn, and then we can use and then apply as a convention. This bit of information comes from real life, is in real time, and may affect our life in reality. These technologies tend to be more tangible in terms of their real-life application. This is an MIT lab prototype from Bill Mitchell's team, MIT car or a city car, a vehicle of the future, which is unmanned, autonomous and transformable, and it changes the needs of urban corridors when it comes to its storage. It changes our habits, because we can just call it and it will take us and drive us where we want. And it's actually in use in the south of France, so this is not a virtual reality. This is tangible reality. It's my presentation based on dreams, ideas, and fantasies of a visionary who is no longer with us. Wired, monthly, 2 years ago, published this minority report devoted article. So in this article, the authors wanted to analyze how much of the minority report concepts have been technologically processed and applied in our environment. So we have a number of inventions. So for the sake of the film, we had a whole list of inventions. So you have this whole list in this Wired magazine, and I marked in bold those that may have some urban planning context, and in orange those that have been already consumed. So for example, iris scanning, and then a certain following citizens and anticipating their needs. Well, that is already happening in China. We can recognize people and also understand the response from the urban mechanism. We all have autonomous cars around us. Those of you who drove Tesla in this automated or autonomous mode, you can see that vehicles can do much more than they're legally allowed to. Then we have personalized advertising, we have gesture-operated interfaces, we have other changes, or things that change our cities. And these changes, they change social behaviors because they refer to a markedly different sphere of perception. I do not have the time to tell you about the impact of these phenomena seminar on designing the urban space. But let me start with showing you a model of the city of Tampa in Florida. This is a model which is mapped with digital projection based on the real-life monitoring, so you can see how the city fills with the traffic in traffic corridors, and then we can focus on different parts of the city and consider whether they're friendly or unfriendly, whether we like them or we don't. So we can light it up. So that shows the participative city planning and discussion with the residents that can show what is happening, and this is up-to-date information which is updated as we go. Then we have two short videos from our faculty. So this is an interactive table that has been created by our IT department, and then we have blocks. These blocks are buildings, and depending on how we program the tool, then it helps us to make a decision. So these wooden blocks are public utility buildings, and these color marks on them surface, so these are certain participants that would group into certain areas or zones of the city. Then we have another application. In this application, we analyze Warsaw in terms of bicycle traffic, so we can analyze potential routes and their duration. So we here determine the comfort zones and the distance of 3, 5, or 10 kilometers. And here we have simulations of new potential cross-river communication and designing bridges. Well, this is actually students' work, but we may set up certain algorithms, and we can easily imagine that we can retrieve some information on the bicycle traffic in such areas. Then there is this company in San Sebastian in North Spain that has been set up by our PhD student. That company prepares animations that analyze theoretical access for traffic and access from any point in the city. Then that city can be mapped by using color visualizations, determining zones of which are more or less accessible, and determine the transportation zones and preferences. So finally, about the interaction, are we as humans able to receive and have this perception of that city of bits? We may be using simple interfaces and with our smartphones, but we cannot fully immerse in that reality. And here we've been working for years to overcome these limitations. So it was at the time when Peter Cook was drawing the plan of the city. So we have a virtual interface of reality, which is an engineering concept. This is a pantograph hanging suspended from the ceiling, and here the participant can see the virtual reality around them. And here on this, in this film, we have perception of a real city, of an ordinary user with an interface. Unfortunately, I do not have a Google Glasses on me today, but Google Glasses give me also contextual information depending on what I would like to have. So we have all like big parts of the city of bits that we would normally fail to see. So, for example, if there is an underground traffic interruption, I get the right information, and then I can have more information or how to move or what traffic type of transportation to use. If I pass by a bookstore, or if I pass by a poster or a billboard, I could, for example, pop in and buy a book, and I can check whether something that I have on my mind is there. Is that a realistic perspective? Are we going to start operating like that from tomorrow on? So Google Glasses technology is no longer supported because of legal issues and users' resistance. That was largely because of the information that the technology was taking from us, and which we were not very much willing to share. We had to compromise on our privacy and on our anonymity in order to use the technology. The technology can register whatever we explore when we explore the surroundings in cities. In my opinion, it is not about technology. It is not about the degree of advancement, progress, technological level of certain tools or devices that we use. It's also a question of about our lifestyle and our needs, and whether and if a human being can and is able to accept that type of operation or functioning in that composite technology that exchanges information with a human being in very many different ways. And I'll be very happy to discuss this concept with you if you're interested later on, and thank you very much for your attention.